Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Yeah, sorry about that. Thank you. First of all, thanks for inviting us. So we are a startup company, been in existence for about 11 years now in upstate New York. Before I get into the company introduction, I would like to go through a quick slide, which I think is very important to share, because without this support and all the network built here, we would not be in existence. So this is a quick snapshot of what is happening in Binghamton area where we are located. This slide shows a little bit how the dots are connected, but eventually leading to an industry that we believe is at the forefront of North American futuristic gigafactory transformation that we would hopefully be able to see in near term. There is a strong industry and academia co-relationship here shown through this slide, and there are various facilities that are primarily run under the mentorship of Professor Stan Whittingham at Binghamton University, that many industries get benefit from, but particularly us, we as a company. There are two companies mentioned here, C4V and IM3, which I will explain the relationship, but I think the key message here is we need similar collaborations across the nation to really foster the innovation, but more so towards the commercialization of these innovations, which is where I think we have been lagging behind. And this relationship plays a very important role in one of the key aspects that we are facing as we go from megawatt hours to gigawatt hour scale up, which is the talent development. This is going to be one of the most critical aspect of the growth that we would have to build and bring to the ecosystem. Otherwise, billions of dollars and the best chemistry and best machinery will eventually collapse if they are not run by the key and the smart people. With that, I would like to show a quick 2-minute video. Let me know if you don't hear the voice, but this is about our product and the company, and explains a little bit about what we are trying to achieve with this technology here. Sorry, I think I missed that.
We are C4V, innovating molecules to machines to establish a lithium-ion battery technology ecosystem. Today, we are introducing LiSer, a unique cell technology platform. LiSer brings to you a cobalt and nickel-free lithium-ion battery cell technology, providing 40 to 50% higher energy and 5 times more power density than LFP. LiSer is the first ever tabless prismatic design delivering extra fast charge benefits. With cell-embedded cooling loops, LiSer eliminates the need for a complicated thermal management system. The low carbon and toxic footprint makes LiSer one of the greenest possible battery technologies. Built with a robust domestic supply chain, the profiled architecture makes LiSer one of the best designs for a solid structural stability of a battery pack. LiSer brings freedom from modules to deliver an industry-leading cell-to-chassis and cell-to-pack performance, exceeding majority of the packs available in the market, irrespective of the chemistry. LiSer Tech also comes with an inherent exceptional safety owing to C4V's oxygen-deficient BMLMP chemistry. C4V committed to deliver safety and performance. With LiSer, we are charging ahead.
Thank you. So a quick history. Personally, my background, I have been in lithium-ion battery space for close to 20 years. Started my career as a postdoc with Professor Stan Whittingham. Around 2012 is when we filed the first patent on our chemistry called BMLMP, which is primarily a mixed metal phosphate, higher voltage, modified to deliver such industry-leading energy and power density. This product had gone through many validations. The first customer happened to be in US military supply chain. They make autonomous electric boats for US Navy. You could probably see one picture here. These are powered by solar and remain on sea for 6+ months. Fully electric sensor system to all the propulsion system, everything. The technology has received many recognitions and awards, and along the way in 2016-17, we realized there is a need for a very strong domestic supply chain and local manufacturing. That's when we started working on our sister company or subsidiary called IM3NY. IM3NY is the one that is building Gigafactory. As we speak, this factory will be operational this summer, which will make it one of the largest homegrown gigafactories in USA. We're obviously trying to scale that to much larger size, but the initial capacity going to be about 1.8 gigawatt hour. There are certain key aspects of the company and the tech. We do not use any cobalt and nickel, and we have been able to achieve 190 watt hour per kg already today, with certain designs up to 200 watt hour per kg as well. Our average cell voltage is about 3.9, and it has been tested up to 6,500 cycles to remain 70% of the original capacity. So very strong cycle life and fairly good energy density, and not having cobalt nickel definitely puts us in a very strong sweet spot for the EV as well as stationary market. We have also built a very solid supply chain. Today, we have close to 200 plus raw material suppliers fully qualified. It takes about 2 years to qualify a single component, but extensive work and investment have gone into that. And we have very limited to no reliance on Chinese components at this point. In order to support this vision, we raised close to $260 million so far, and have done a few good strategic acquisitions. That includes the manufacturing assets of A123 in the US, also a factory used to be called Alivo. And this has been supported by a very strong investor base. Today, we already have in excess of $900 million supply contracts. These are binding supply contracts, and we have recently, last 15 months, signed 2 very strong partnership agreements that will lead to a good size supply contract for the further scale that we are aiming and working towards. And our goal is obviously to get this 1.8 right now, but by 2030 we are hoping to achieve 38 gigawatt hour, and this is supported by a very strong team. We started with 2 people 10 years back, and right now in excess of 100 people, and by December this year we are hoping to be crossing 200 team members. Now, I think what we are trying to build here, of course, this is fully supported by New York State government as well. We get a lot of not only the funding support, but other necessary support through NY Best and NYSERDA, and including the Binghamton University. But I think the key is to really innovate molecules and design and processes, and then keep it that as more as the forefront of the innovation. But then also in parallel, look into the scale, automation, and cost. And that's why you probably see 2 companies in my slide. One is focusing on, let's say, we call it small R, big D in R&D, on the R&D side, and the next is the manufacturing. So our goal actually has been, you may find our energy density not 400 or 300 that everyone talking about, but our factory is sold out for next 3 years. That probably speaks for the need for batteries, and we say market buys what is available, not best. So, while we'll have always, I think, R&D programs and innovations, looking at the high targets, whether it's energy density, safety, or cost, I think it's important to set up end-to-end ecosystem, and that's what we primarily focused on. We do have a very solid technology roadmap. You would probably, you'll observe here a SP series product, which is one of the another cobalt and nickel-free technology we are able to achieve in excess of 350 watt hour per kg. So I think previous speakers have been able to explain it's not one or the other component. It's a combination of few components. Primarily, the cathode and the anode and the electrolyte play very important roles. So you could actually work around that. So cobalt, nickel are major components on the cathode side, but there are ways to develop the anodes and the electrolyte that could achieve higher energy densities without cobalt nickel, while we do have a high nickel chemistry in the pipeline as well. So we believe that making this technology available to market is very, very important. So while there is a parallel tiny effort to get to next technology be fully mature, our current focus is really scale and be at the forefront of the domestic manufacturing. So with 1.8 going live this year, we definitely want to continue to retain that position and scale it to 38 gigawatt hour. However, there are certain things we believe we definitely need to look at and go with a bottoms up approach, and let's say first principle of physics, look into where the deficiencies are. Today, lithium-ion battery is the industry that uses 99.99% purity components that come inside the factory. And these factories are the most expensive factories built, like Tesla is an example, $4 billion. Despite that, the yields and the throughput of these factories in 70, 80% range, and taking them to 90 plus is one of the big challenge. And our goal is to exceed 95 eventually. So that's where the digital factory or smart factories come into play. It's very complicated system when we talk about the manufacturing. Obviously, it involves the chemical, it involves the mechanical, it involves chemical handling, but also high power on the formation side and electrical knowledge. So combining these knowledge, and as your input of the ingredients is from powder to solid to liquid to foils, makes it pretty difficult. Conversion of dollars per kg, dollars per meter to dollars per kilowatt hour is difficult thing. And that's where we have been, I would say, putting a lot of investment, human resource to look into and see how we can identify the gaps that exist in today's processes, and not really duplicate what we call a brand new old factory, but look into how these can be built smartly. So scale, automation, and cost remain the core of that development. There are various processes that are used today. We're not going to talk about how we are innovating that, but a few examples. Coating today is one of such thing where you take the powder and put a lot of liquid into it and then evaporate that liquid. And you have to, obviously, first getting the permits. It took us 11 months to get the permit for our cathode side of the solvent. So it looks easy when I was in the lab and dealing with 500 gram, but when it comes to 1,000, 2,000 ton to 10,000 ton, it makes things really complicated from environmental handling perspective. So innovating something that will reduce such a time frame, but also keep the processes and the product green and clean. Various such steps that happen across the production line, from drying to calendaring to then mechanical steps to formation. So we have put a lot of efforts into these. Again, it's a very thin line, because the moment you try to renovate everything, you can't be in production faster. So you really have to work and handhold these equipment manufacturers, where you can bring marginal improvements but then in the long run, really bring the overall impact or consolidated effect meaningfully. So we consider these machines that I showed in the previous slide here the backbone of the success. Success here is really stabilizing the whole industry, not just a profit-making cell manufacturing line. Also, then comes to the molecules, and here is a quick snapshot of how we see the value chain from left-hand side mining to midstream refining, cathode manufacturing, and then eventually downstream system and second life recycling. So all this ecosystem has to be developed in the country to really foster and control the cost. And within these components, the cell itself, let's say there are more than 20 plus that we use. At least 10 of them fall under, we call fine chemicals, and tight tolerances are required to produce product within the specifications, and it makes it difficult. But selection of these molecules and the chemistries is very, very important. They are interconnected. Changing one definitely affects the other and eventually the performance. We, in the first step, have been mostly looking into the active material on the cathode side. There are various chemistries today that exist in the market, from LFP, that is one of the very prominent chemistry controlled by the Chinese supply chain today, to NMC. Within NMC, we heard Professor Ram earlier, from 332 to now 811, to completely eliminating cobalt. And then LMNO, which is 5 volt, a lot of efforts have gone into that. Our chemistry sits somewhere here with the 3.9 volt nominal voltage, with about 200 watt hour per kg, with no cobalt and no nickel. So we see that we are not the best in terms of, let's say, voltage, but not worse either. So selection of this, we felt like is the right choice to build a true domestic supply chain, where some of the key ingredients we use are well known in steel industry, and repurposing those, let's say, upstream operations could be relatively easier. So the third portion of building the smart factory is the brain, and that's the data side of it, where comes the automation and intelligent machinery. We have been building a product that we call Digital DNA. That's the product is a software product that we feel is the language that you need to have in place to have these molecules speak to machines. And as I explained earlier, right now there is very poor yield in these factories, and we strongly believe that, and we have demonstrated some already at the pilot scale, that having an intelligent system that can communicate between these molecules and machine could minimize the waste. And if we can create a two-way communication between these two, I think we can get into that 95+% yield. So in short, I think to really stabilize a true domestic supply chain, these three, the backbone, the heart, and the brain, which is primarily building the equipment supply chain and building smart machines domestically, then building, bringing these molecules that were always invented in the US anyway in very first place, but building their infrastructure is critical. However, in order for us to really leapfrog with the Asian and the, let's say, Korean, Japanese manufacturing, is to build these relationship between the machines and molecules, and build factories that can be profitable and green in long run. So with that, I think I would like to stop, and happy to answer any questions you may have. My email and phone number is listed. We would be very happy to collaborate. We have been very, very proactive in identifying domestic suppliers, but we will put every best effort to go extra mile if we need to work extra hours to work with any upstream, downstream partners, and see how we can work together. So with that, I'll stop and welcome any questions you may have.
All right, thank you. There are no questions in the webinar. Are there questions here in the room? All right, I see no questions in the room. So Shailesh, thank you very much for the time you've taken with us today. We appreciate it.
Thank you.